January 9th, 2021, Lesson 70 in A Course in Miracles Student Workbook. My salvation comes from me. So I wanted to use 2 lectures from Jordan Peterson before the fall of Jordan Peterson, right? It's a pun, whatever. I had a movie documentary of the rise of Jordan Peterson, but whatever. Anyways, cool guy, met him. But I wanted to remind you guys again of the poem that I mentioned yesterday, the Sue poem about the Creator putting our potential within ourselves and the realization of what that is within ourselves. So, as we go through the Course in Miracles, we are unveiling a lot of things for ourselves. We start to tell ourselves that we see the light within things, okay? And that we're seeing God in everything. And most oftentimes, it's very difficult for us to see that because we have imprinted our impressions and emotions onto these material forms of this dimension. So, in the lesson it says, you have to go through clouds before you see the lights. Basically kind of saying that you have to go through the darkness, right, before you can see the end of the tunnel. Now, I wanted to mention our emotions because our emotions are going to be very important as we're going through our journey of self-realization, the journey of the soul. Our emotions are basically a indicator of where we're at in life and how we're seeing life. So if our emotions are low, then we can see that we're kind of stuck in our ego, right? The lower self, from the triangle of, Hermetic principles, right? So you have the triangle with the square and the circle, you have the body and the mind, and then once you go on the top of the triangle, you have essence, spirits. Our emotions are telling us where to go, right? They are the missile heat seekers that are allowing us to kind of seek our goal, our treasure. Now, Jordan Peterson mentions a lot the eye of Horus, right? You see the eye of Horus in the back of the dollar. The eye of God, the all-seeing eye. So he mentions the authority hierarchy, right? So that there's an authority atop, and that would be God. So at the top of the hierarchy is something that no longer is a part of it, right? So as you're moving up in the hierarchy, you can think of it of the hierarchy of needs when we're looking at self-actualization to self-transcendence, or if you're looking at Robert Dilts's neurological levels of change and learning, you're looking at why to for whom, right? What is our identity to our purpose? It's self-transcendent. So you develop the ability as a consequence of moving up. So you have to move up before you can you have to play by the rules before you break the rules, in a sense. To be detached enough so you're no longer part of it, so you can move in different hierarchies. So you can start moving, what you would call, not lateral. Yeah, lateral instead of longitudinal, right? So instead of trying to move up, where there's a hierarchy and there's always like positionalities and labels, now we're seeing ourselves from a different base. Now we're looking at ourselves from a higher perspective, higher self. So we develop the capacity to pay attention, which is our consciousness, right? We're taking back our consciousness from the images that we've imposed, the thoughts and the belief systems, the value systems, etc. So from a mythological standpoint, it is a thing that's competes with spoken word. So we spoke about spoken word with Nietzsche and how it's very close to getting the truth, but it can only describe it so much, right? So that's why we have spoken word, the word of God, right? The other source of extraction of the habitual order of chaos. So we are creating order basically form out of the chaos of what this life is in terms of reality. So as we start to understand the realization in us, right, we have to understand that there's nothing outside of us that can save us. So we have the ability to save ourselves, to find peace within ourselves. As he mentions, Marduk, the creator, right, the god of Mesopotamia, he emerges at the hierarchy of all Mesopotamian gods and has eyes around his head and then spoken words of magic. So once again, we look at abracadabra, as I speak, so I shall create. And it is the Eye of Horus that revivifies a dead society. So now we're getting to a point that we are realizing that the ways that we lived before don't work anymore, and then we have to change ourselves, which means that we have to change our paradigms. Life is not in order. That means you have to pay attention. So same as thinking, right? Different processings, and you're paying attention to what you don't know. So out of this comes vision. And I'm thinking about this now in the terms of A Course in Miracles, where you are granted vision. You're granted the ability to see truth. So now the all-seeing eye is the eye of God, the eye of the true eye, right? The eye pays attention to things that it's automatically attracted to. So that manifests itself in front of us. So you can think about the law of attraction, right? It shines forth. So you see the lights in things, you see God in things. Now you're seeing things in a metaphorical, mythological standpoint of how it's attracting our eyes, our interest. Kind of like he uses Harry Potter as an example, Quidditch, the snitch, okay? So it attracts us because it's the thing it's manifesting forth. So we're seeing reality versus the map, okay? And as he mentions in one of his lectures, it's the manifestation of potentiality in reality. And this is very similar to how flow works, which is the level of challenge with the level of skill. So that means that you are meeting the challenge as it's being created. So when we learned yesterday that at the depth of despair, the ego lets go. So let go of my ego, let go of my ego. Right? It is crisis that allows us the spiritual knowledge. So the cloud of fantasy disappears, and now we're at the depth, right? We're seeing reality. We're more grounded within our reality. And we saw this with the meaning definitions that Viktor Frankl had with finding meaning through our actions, our deeds, through people, our experiences, and our attitudes through suffering. So we're meeting reality as it's unfolding. Your unique experience of the universe does not repeat. So now we are becoming present with the moments as nature has been waiting for us for millions of years to interact with it, the person-environment transaction. Gaining real access to real information versus prepackaged, rather than a copy of a copy when we see that with forms. Coming from a grounded source of being in the world, right? It's the source of being, which is the manifestation of spirits. Transforms the nature of those goals, right? So you pursue the thing that guides your interests. More information is revealed, absorbing the information. So now you're becoming informed. Now you're in formation, right? You break the word in twos, and now you're in formation. Absorbing the information, learning to build yourself into a different person, right? You are now the watcher of all your sum experiences. You're not the sum of all your experiences, because now you're identifying with the ego if you do that. Now you are the watcher of your sum experiences, right? You're more informed, stronger, you have more integrity, more strength, more direction. So spiritual work is not easy work, guys. Differentiate the map so you live in the real world. So you see the map is not the territory, as Nietzsche actually mentions. So things shine forth when you're attending to something that you're interested in, and you're engaged, alive, right? It's worthwhile. So something that's worthwhile means that there's meaning into it, right? So whatever suffering it may be, everybody suffers in their own unique way, and it's your duty to find the meaning into that, right? Because that is what is manifesting in front of you, and that is your duty, because life is asking you, what is the meaning of life as you are seeing it through? Again, the vision. You don't even ask the question because it goes away, right? It pushes all the adversity back. So Nietzsche mentions that any man with any why can bear any how, right? Because, of course, life is catastrophic and has terrible endings. So when we have a why, we become self-transcendent. It pulls us beyond that, right? So you have to be in sync with something that's beyond you, okay? Because that is what is going to pull you and give you the strength to bear your limits. Because if we're all constantly looking at our limits, then it's going to encapsulate us, it's going to stifle us, it's going to stop us from actually living and pursuing our goals and even being happy, right? Because we haven't developed knowledge of this, okay, of ourselves. Because as much as we have learned much of the objective world, we haven't been able to be with ourselves. So he mentions the round chaos in the Alchemist, the Hermetic Principles, right? It is what the world is made out of, right? It's the most real information, and it's the combination of spirit and matter, right? So you build yourself and you build matter. And that's really what it is. It's creating this energy from all its chaos, which in essence would be the feminine energy, and now we're creating order, which would be the masculine energy. So you're playing the game outside of the game, which beckons you, okay? So now you're seeing that you're living life, but you're also working on yourself at the same time. If you follow the thing that manifests to you as interesting, it will lead you through adversity, do things difficult, but not beyond your capacity, because it's tempered for that, right? So God wouldn't give you anything that you're not capable of handling, right? And that's what you have to always understand. And if it becomes very difficult for you to understand that, then you can tell yourself that the universe chooses people that are strong enough to balance out the universe for karmic propensities. So there's a reason why the universe chose you to have a difficult life, because you were strong enough to live that life. And now you have to see why, right? Because with any why, you can bear any how. So as you're hitting yourself against the world, pursuing your interests, you tap yourself into alignment. And we learned this yesterday as we start to see that our bodies are the conduits of what truth is manifesting within ourselves. God is speaking through us. God is acting through us, okay? And you can see it within our body language as nothing is hidden. Nothing is hidden from the I, the I, the I. And the internal structure will be non-contradictory. So our actions will align with our words, as we see with the environments, our actions and behaviors, our skills and capabilities, our values and beliefs, and our identity. And now we're seeing ourselves from our purpose. It reflects the light. And become hard and durable, able to bear conditions of existence without becoming corrupt, which is the most important thing that we have to understand, okay? The nature of the relationship of human consciousness, of the individual, and reality itself. So now we are starting to understand that as we are creating, right, we are speaking, we are thinking, and now we are being in the world. Because at first we were just thinking, how does this work for us? How do we do this? How do we go about this? Now we're feeling, thinking and feeling, the combination. And then now we're feeling, and now we're becoming. We're becoming what we've always been at every single moment, as the moment is allowing us to be that in every single moment. Because every moment is designed for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the moment? Because this is the moment that you're having right now.